And this is the place where Jacob met with the Lord, felt the power of the Lord from the Lord. The Lord gave him the power, enough power to tell the truth. When the angel asked him that night unto daybreak, "What is your name?" Jacob answered, "I am Jacob."
Some truths in the Bible are thunderous, shouted from the mountaintop, woven through every Sunday sermon. But others remain shrouded in silence, tucked between verses, hidden behind visions too strange to easily explain. The angels of God, mighty, luminous, terrifying, are often remembered in stories of guidance and protection. But buried deeper in Scripture is a different truth, one that almost no one talks about, not because it isn't there, but because it's too unsettling, too mysterious, too divine to fully grasp. What God did with his angels, how he moved through them, hidden them, even waged war with them, was not just majestic, it was shocking. And when you begin to look closely, you'll see that these beings aren't just messengers, they are soldiers, watchers, guardians of forbidden gates, carriers of fire. Some were sent to shut down the rebellion, others to open the heavens. But all of them moved with one origin, one voice, a will far greater than their wings. In the beginning, their presence was quiet, subtle, almost hidden. But then, God began to reveal his angelic host. According to Genesis, Abraham was visited by heavenly travelers. Jacob wrestled through the night with a divine being until dawn broke over a new name. In Exodus, the Israelites were not alone in the wilderness. A strange figure moved with them, a mysterious angel, wrapped in cloud and fire, leading them forward and guarding their backs. Throughout the law, the first 5 books of Scripture, angels appear again and again. 32 times they are mentioned in those ancient scrolls, not as a poetic metaphor. As told in Exodus 14:19, this angel of God shifted positions, moving from front to rear, revealing just how active the unseen realm truly was. Not as distant figures, but as living agents of divine will, powerful, personal, and terrifyingly real. They are called the host of heaven, the armies of the Most High. And as Psalm 1:3-20 describes, they excel in strength. They obey his word instantly, moving faster than thought and stronger than any force known to earth. They are not the quaint figures painted on cathedral ceilings. They are not tame. They are not fragile. These angels are invincible, not in myth, but in mission. In every conflict recorded in Scripture, when God sends his angels to act, they do not fail. In Revelation 12, we see a war, not on earth, but in heaven itself. A celestial rebellion erupts. Michael, the great archangel, leads God's army against Satan and his followers. What follows is not a symbolic vision, it's a battle, a casting down, a final declaration that there is no longer room in heaven for the dragon or his kind. They are expelled, not with ceremony, but with force, and in that moment we learn something terrifying and beautiful. God uses his angels not just to protect, but to purge, to defend his glory, to secure his kingdom. And they do it without hesitation. But the mystery deepens. Not all angels are the same. Not all wield swords or flames. Some carry messages, others guard sacred places, and then there are those whose only purpose seems to be awe. Gabriel and Michael are named. Lucifer, once the morning star, fell from divine grace, but most angels are unnamed, like instruments of a hidden orchestra, each playing a part too massive for human understanding. Among them are the cherubim, strange and ancient. Their first appearance in Genesis 3 is not comforting. It is ominous. After Adam and Eve fall, God drives them from the garden, but he doesn't just send them out. He guards the entrance. And the guardians are not warriors with swords of steel, but mighty cherubim wielding a flaming blade that turn in every direction. Their mission? To block the way back to the tree of life. A tree that, if eaten from again, would seal humanity's fall forever. In Genesis 3:24, God stations the cherubim there not to harm, but to protect something holy, a boundary between what was and what could never be again. And centuries later, when Moses receives the blueprint for the tabernacle, the sacred tent where God would dwell with his people, something strange happens. God commands him to build an ark, a mercy seat, a sacred throne where the presence of God would rest. And over that seat, he instructs Moses to carve 2 golden figures, cherubim, their wings outstretched, their faces turned inward, their gaze locked on the center, the place where heaven would kiss earth. As seen in Exodus 25, these were not ornaments, they were echoes, reminders of the gatekeepers who once stood at Eden's edge, and now they marked the spot where grace would be found. But there is another order of angels, even more mysterious, the seraphim. Isaiah 6 opens with a vision that burns itself into the soul. The prophet sees the Lord, high and exalted, seated on a throne. The train of his robe fills the temple. But above him, surrounding the throne, are 6 winged beings, burning ones, seraphim. With 2 wings, they cover their faces. With 2, they cover their feet. And with 2, they fly. They do not speak to Isaiah. They cry to one another, a sound so powerful, so overwhelming, that the very thresholds of the temple shake. They cry, "Holy, holy, holy," not once, not twice, but threefold, an eternal proclamation of the one who was and is to come. Isaiah, undone by the vision, falls apart. He knows he doesn't belong in this place, but something astonishing happens. One of the seraphim flies to him, holding a burning coal taken from the altar, and with it, he touches Isaiah's mouth. No words, just fire. And through it, Isaiah's guilt is taken away. In Isaiah 6:6-7, we're given one of the most powerful angelic acts in Scripture, not of war, but of cleansing, not of punishment, but purification. And then there are the beings simply called the living creatures. In Revelation, they appear again, strange, covered in eyes, full of wings, never resting, always watching. They sing the same refrain as the seraphim. Day and night without pause, they proclaim the holiness of God. And yet, they are also seen pouring out judgment, holding bowls of wrath, ushering in divine justice. Their appearance is not symbolic, it is deliberate, it is terrifying. They are not angels as we imagine. They are something else, something older, something closer to the throne than we've ever dared to imagine. But among all these ranks, 2 names rise with clarity. Michael, the archangel, a warrior, a protector, a prince over Israel. As told in Daniel 10-12, he battles not flesh and blood, but principalities and powers that hinder the very will of God. In Jude 1:9, he disputes with the devil himself over the body of Moses, a mystery we are only briefly allowed to see. Every time Michael appears, there is conflict, and every time he fights for the purposes of heaven. Gabriel the messenger, the herald. In Daniel 8, he delivers visions of kingdoms yet to come. In Luke 1, he stands before Zechariah and announces the birth of John. And then, in a quiet town called Nazareth, he brings the greatest message of all, to Mary, a virgin, chosen to carry the Son of God. Gabriel is not a warrior, he is a voice. But make no mistake, when he speaks, kingdoms shift. These are not soft stories, these are divine incursions. Angels, the kind the Bible reveals, are not the ones we talk about lightly. And what God has done through them is not tame, but we've only begun to see it. What happens when an angel stands watch over a nation? What does it mean when a heavenly being holds back the forces of hell for 21 days just so a prayer can be answered? The answer is even more mysterious than we think. There's a quiet tremor that runs through Scripture, a tension humming beneath the surface. Not in the words of men, but in the movements of heaven. You find it in the messengers, the warriors, the burning ones. Not only what they say or do, but what their presence means, what it reveals about the nature of God. Because these angels don't just carry commands, they carry revelation. And sometimes what God does through them is almost too immense to understand. In Daniel 10, we witness a hidden battle, not on earth, but above it. Daniel prays, and for 21 days, nothing happens. No answer, no sign, until suddenly a heavenly visitor appears. He says he was sent from the moment Daniel began to pray, but he was delayed, held back by a powerful adversary described as the prince of the kingdom of Persia. And it was only when Michael arrived, the archangel himself, that the way was cleared. This is more than imagery. It's a crack in the veil, a glimpse into a realm where prayers stir warfare and angelic beings contend with darkness to deliver the will of God. In Daniel 10:13, the cosmic struggle is laid bare, not for the sake of spectacle, but to show how involved, how personal, how contested the divine work truly is. And then there's Revelation, a book that doesn't just describe the end, but reveals what the heavens have been doing all along. In Revelation 5, angels are not just observers, they surround the throne, myriads upon myriads, singing, proclaiming, following in worship. They open scrolls, sound trumpets, pour bowls of judgment, and when the Lamb appears, the only one worthy to break the seals, all of heaven responds. These angels are not separate from the story, they are integral to it. They move at God's command, but with their own presence. They are not robots, they are not illusions. They are created spirits, each tailored for their task, yet all pointing to one throne. Some carry wrath, others mercy. Some guard holy spaces, others battle for forgotten prayers. But none are without purpose. Even Lucifer, once the most brilliant of them all, had his role. His name, revealed in Isaiah 14:12, meant morning star. He was beautiful, exalted, until pride warped him, and he fell, cast down from the heights he once knew. Now he is no longer called an angel, but an accuser, tempter, deceiver, prince of this world, as Jesus said in John 12:31. Yet even in his rebellion, even in his fall, he did not unmake what God established. Because for every deception there is a watcher, for every war, a Michael, for every silence, Gabriel is waiting to speak. Some of the most haunting descriptions come from the book of Revelation. The 4 living creatures, covered in eyes, 6 wings each, never silent, always watching. Their gaze never breaks, their song never stops. Holy, 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 they proclaim day and night without pause. As seen in Revelation 4 and 5, they are not side characters. They are central, not just to the throne, but to its very operation. They lead worship, they signal judgments, they declare who is worthy. And here's the mystery. We are told so little about them. No names, no origin, no clear explanation, only form and function. They exist because God wills it, and they act as the sentinels of glory. But perhaps the most chilling moment in the angelic record comes from the story of the Watcher. In Daniel 4, Nebuchadnezzar dreams, and in that dream, a holy one, a watcher, descends from heaven, not with a message, but with a decree. The tree must be cut down. The king must be humbled. And the reason? That the living may know that the Most High rules over the kingdoms of men. This watcher doesn't explain. He doesn't comfort, he simply declares. A heavenly enforcer of divine justice, a presence that proves God sees everything. Daniel 4:13 and 4:17 describe these beings not as interpreters, but as executors. Their word becomes law, and the king is reduced to a beast, crawling in the grass until the heavens say otherwise. Could they still be at work today, watching, judging, acting in ways we don't perceive? The Bible never says they stopped. And then there is the throne. Throughout Scripture, the throne of God is always surrounded. Cherubim flank it, seraphim circle it, living creatures cry out, angels surround. It is not vacant. It is not quiet. It is the epicenter of divine energy, lightning, thunder, voices, and praise. This is not a throne like earthly kings sit on. This is the axis of reality, the place from which all things are governed. And here's what almost no one talks about. At times, that throne moves. In Ezekiel 1, we're given the most disorienting vision in all of Scripture: a storm, a whirlwind, a fiery cloud, and from it emerge four living creatures, each with four faces, wings that touch, and wheels beside them. Wheels within wheels, covered in eyes, able to move in any direction without turning. These are the Ophanim, and they are not described like anything else in the Bible. They carry the throne, it is mobile, it is alive, it goes wherever the Spirit goes, and the creatures do not lead it, they follow it. This vision, as told in Ezekiel 1, reveals something almost no one is prepared to accept. God's throne is not static, it moves, it leaves, it departs, and when it does, nothing can stop it. Later, in Ezekiel 10, the vision intensifies. The throne begins to rise. The glory of the Lord departs from the temple, lifted by the same strange wheels and angelic beings, and with it judgment begins. This is not just a vision, it is a prophecy, a warning, a declaration that God will not stay where he is no longer honored. And the angels, they carry that message without words. They move the throne itself. No one talks about this. We speak of angels as guardians, helpers, and messengers, but rarely do we reckon with the full weight of their purpose. They do not just serve, they execute, they burn, they watch. They move with the will of the Almighty, even when that will brings judgment instead of mercy, even when it means silence instead of song. This is what God did and does with his angels. And it's why the full truth is rarely taught, because it does not comfort, it awakens. And now, perhaps, you understand why this matters, because these beings, the ones we've neglected, ignored, softened, are still moving, still watching, still crying out before the throne. The most mysterious angels in the Bible are not just background characters. They are the revelation. They remind us that heaven is not quiet, that glory is not passive. The presence of God demands reverence. So next time you picture angels, remember the truth hidden in plain sight. What God did through them, what he entrusted to them, is far greater, stranger, and more terrifying than we've dared to believe. Because in the kingdom of heaven, nothing is random and nothing goes unseen. This is what Faith Face exists to help you do. See beyond the visible, speak from the Spirit, and step into the reality of God's layered kingdom. If this opened your eyes to something deeper, subscribe for more Faith Face videos, and in the comments tell us which angelic mystery still haunts you. Until next time, stay prayerful.